Anne Arundel County, Maryland is about to learn why it is important that we have housing for everybody in our county. Many of you are aware of the fact that if you have sons and daughters, if you happen to be a firefighter or a police officer, or if you happen to be working for a small business, how difficult it can be to find housing in Anne Arundel County. And so tonight's rally is an opportunity to showcase the problem and then to call on our elected officials to address those issues. One of the things I want to just underscore, when people run for public office, the number one thing that voters want, regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of their age, regardless of what church or synagogue or mosque or temple they go through, they want leaders to address problems. That's what they get elected to public office for. And there's no greater issue facing Anne Arundel County today than the issue of housing, the need for housing for all people. We're so delighted to have so many of our elected officials here today. And I'd like to just to call off some of these elected officials so we can recognize them, if we will. We have, of course, from the County Council, our great chairman, Pete Smith. Mr. Chairman. We have our state senator from District 32, Senator Pam Bottle.
Madam Chair.
We have that incredible delegate who just keeps making a difference every day, Delegate Shanika Henson. She's joined by her colleagues, Delegate Mark Chang, Sandy Bartlett, and one of our young council members, DeJuan Gay. Let's give him a round of applause. And we have so many organizations that are supporting this effort. We have, of course, ACT. We have, who's present?
Lisa Robbie.
Oh, Lisa, where's Lisa? That's my delegate. That's my, that's my council member. Hey, thank you.
I didn't even know that. Oh, thank you.
She wrote a wonderful op-ed. I just told her it was a beautiful op-ed. Her and Pete did a great job in helping to craft this issue. We have UA that's here. We have the Caucus of African American Leaders. We have the Anne Arundel County Food Bank, IAFF, Kingdom Care Incorporated, which we just finished celebrating that wonderful 10th anniversary, Apostle. The League of Women Voters, the oldest, boldest, largest civil rights organization in America, the NAACP. We have TAC and, of course, SEIU. Let's give them all a round of applause, if you will. And the Community Action Agency is in the house. Community Action Agency is in the house. Did I miss anybody else? The Lighthouse, the wonderful Lighthouse. One of the things I really want to underscore for all of you, if you've not signed up to speak out at the county council meeting, please do that. If you've not signed up, please sign up. It's important your voices be heard by our members of the county council. We're going to have our first elected official coming to the podium to speak. She's no stranger to this issue. She happens to have served once on the county council, the Honorable Pam Bottle.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. While we were hearing the announcements, I saw two more people come in. Delegate Sandy Bartlett, one of my delegates, is here. Councilwoman Allison Pickert's out in the middle. And City Councilman Brooke Schendemeyer. Have we missed anyone else?
Register of wills.
Register of wills. Erica? Yay! experience in Erica's office. I was just relating to her, so thank you for that. So thank you, everyone. I'm really pleased to see this crowd tonight. I happen to have had very similar legislation to this legislation in 2004. And I worked really hard on it. I brought the developers, the builders, I brought everyone in for a year to craft the legislation. In the end, the county executive didn't support it, but I had my 4 votes, except one of the council members had to leave the dais because she wasn't well that evening. And so while I had my 4 votes going in the end I only had 3 votes. That was 20 years ago. You know how many homes we've built in Anne Arundel County in 20 years? We could have had 4,000 of these affordable housing units in 20 years, and that has passed. We can't go back and get those 4,000 units. But I'm really proud of this council. This is a big bill to undertake. I'm hearing some rumors that there's some amendments, and that's fine. You know, we have a very thoughtful county council, and I'm sure they'll make this the very best bill that it can be. But we need to do something about housing in this county. Our police officers, our firefighters, our teachers' aides, our hotel workers, our hospital workers, they can't afford to live in this county. We have shortages all over our workforce. I serve on the Workforce Healthcare Commission for the crisis in workforce and healthcare, and we have such a significant shortage. When you go to the emergency room and you can't get seen for 12 hours, it's all about a shortage in workforce. So we need to do something in this county to be able to support people and give folks housing, and I really hope this county council can do it this time. I'm so disappointed that we couldn't do it in 2004. But thank you all for your support, and let's get it done.
As I mentioned earlier, one of our really just, I think, very effective delegates is Shanika Henson, who's long understood the need for affordable housing. Please welcome to the podium the Honorable Delegate Shanika Henson.
Thank you. So if I pass the mic around here today, I'm sure everybody could share a story about affordable housing. And some of you might even be able to share a story from today, like me. My morning started off at a symposium for affordable housing. And when I walked in the door, seated at the podium were Johnny Olszewski, the Baltimore County Executive, Jessica Fitzwater, the Frederick County Executive, and Calvin Ball, the Howard County Executive. And guess what they were talking about? MPDU's affordable housing and how it's working in their counties. In their counties. If it works in Howard County, it can work in Anne Arundel County. If it works in Frederick County, it can work in Anne Arundel County. If it works in Baltimore County, it can work in Anne Arundel County. Absolutely. The name of this bill is the Essential Workers Housing Bill. Alderman Gay and I, we represent the same district in the Annapolis City Council. He has that district now, and he's responsible for the lives that are there. But Alderman Gay will tell you, it's the district that has the greatest demand for affordable housing in all of the city of Annapolis, and that is an incredible responsibility. But when we were in the pandemic and everyone was home, everyone who lived in that district, who I used to represent as their alderwoman and then as their delegate, guess where they were at? They were at the grocery stores, making sure we had food. They were at nursing homes, making sure elders were taken care of. They were riding and transporting people on buses. They were in all sorts of industries that didn't give them the ability to stay home so they could stay safe, but they went out so we could all have what we needed every day. It wasn't until the pandemic that we called them essential workers. Before then, we called it low-income housing. Before then, we called them people who made low wages. Before then, we called them asset-limited, income-constrained individuals. We had all these terminologies for them. But when we needed them to be there for us, we recognized that their work was essential during the pandemic. And what this bill does is it recognizes that their housing is essential. There's so many things you can think of. Home is where your heart is. Home is where you learn your values. My mother always says, where you live teaches you how to live. We have to be just as invested in making sure that where people live is safe and affordable, because all those threads are connected. All of them. All of them. The number of phone calls that I get, delegate, what are you doing about our public schools? Delegate, what are you doing about our public safety? Delegate, what are you doing about our transportation? Well, guess what connects all of those things? Housing, where you live. We can invest all of your money in our schools, but if people don't go home to safe, decent, stable housing, it will all be for nothing. All be for nothing. We can invest everything we have in public safety. We can put as many officers on the streets as we have people on the streets. But if people don't have housing to go to, it will all be for nothing. Nothing. This bill makes sure that we do this in a way that's fair and equitable. The only way you get a good result is you ask everybody to be responsible. You don't just put this on a district like Alderman Gaze. You don't just put this on an affordable housing developer. You put this responsibility out to the public, because the people they serve are absolutely 100% essential. And that's what this bill says. So I'm so excited. I'm so thankful for our county executive and his leadership. Give it up to Stewart. He understood that when Johnny O was talking about affordable housing for Baltimore County, and Jessica Fitzwater was talking about it for Frederick County, and Calvin Ball was talking about it for Howard County, he understood that if they can do it, we can do it, and the time for that is now. Thank you.
All right. Fired up. Our next speaker is no stranger to this community. He recently made history by becoming the first African American to be elected to as chair of the county council. He wrote a wonderful op-ed in the local paper, the Capital. Please welcome to the podium the Honorable Pete Smith.
I think we should have ended on the delegate. I mean, I was ready to say amen. She summed it up very succinctly and powerful. She should be a pastor. If she is not the leader of a church, she is missing her calling. We need to get the basket out here so we can collect a donation and start a church, a building foundation for her. I'm so grateful for her and many of the folks that are on this stage, as well as the folks that are in the audience out here in the crowd, because you didn't have to be here today. Let me tell you, it is Monday night. It's about 60-ish degrees. It's a beautiful evening, but you chose to be here. And the question is, why? Why did you choose to be here? I always go back to my own story. I always lead from where I came from, because most of us in this audience today, you have a story to tell from. Most folks don't even know that you are one paycheck away from being homeless yourself. I guarantee you there are folks in this audience right now that had needed the assistance and the help of those family members to make sure that they can keep their own housing. I told many folks before that I moved around a lot, even when I was a kid. Lost my home, my mother, evicted when I was 17 in high school. So literally my senior year, I barely graduated because we didn't have stability. I had a 2.1 GPA when I graduated high school. 2.1. Do the math, 2.1. But it was by the grace of God, quite frankly, it gave me an opportunity to be successful, and it put me in an environment that kept me whole. But it was that housing that really hurt me the most. If you look at the many years and the many families that are desecrated and hurt by housing, it's crazy. And so I'm frustrated because a lot of the folks that deal with this environment, it's a sort of licking ice cream cone that we've created by allowing an environment that pushes profits over people. Pushing profits over people. Now you're going to see this bill, and it won't pass as is. I see the as is on there. Because there will be amendments that come to it. And I want to give credit to, I know she's not on the stage up here, to Councilwoman Pickard. She has been dealing with this issue for a number of years. I know some of you all will see over the coming months the knowledge that she has when it comes to housing is actually impressive. But we work as a body, the 7 of us. Not one of us can get anything done by ourselves. Not one of us. And it takes all 7 of us to craft language that all of us, all 7 of us, can vote on and support. And so I'm asking you to be patient as we go through this sausage-making process. Some of you all may not understand, read the fine print and the details when it comes to this bill, but I challenge you, go back and read the fine print. There are some things in there that we may want to change that changes the impacts of this. And I ask you to be patient as we matriculate through this process, because that's what's necessary to move the ball forward. I literally got off the phone with Secretary Day about an hour, maybe hour and a half ago. We were literally talking about housing and what the state is going to do leading off of this effort. And one of the things I said to him is, if you had, this bill was on the agenda 6 years ago, it would not see the light of day. It would have been voted down. We now have an opportunity, because we have a majority council, we have a county executive that's amenable to this direction, but I'm asking you to be patient, because some of you all want to get to the end zone, but we may only get to the 50-yard line. But I'm telling you, 6 years ago, we'd have lost yardage with the previous administration. So this bill will progress. We will have tools, not just with this bill, with additional bills that are coming down the pipeline to actually move the needle on this issue. I'm so grateful that I went through the stuff that I went through as a kid, because I can speak from a level of truth when it comes to how important housing is. Not only did we move around to 7 different houses in a span of 8 or 9 years, every single house we went to was also pest infested, either roaches or mice. And how hard it is to actually do your homework when you got to worry about roaches crawling on you, how hard it is to do your homework when you got to worry about rodents that are running across the floor. I'm telling you, it is inhumane to have people living in those conditions. And to not have a house at all is even worse. And so I'm encouraged that all of you, hopefully, can stay with us on this journey. This is not the end. This bill is not the end all. I want to just say that right now. This bill is not the end all. I'm asking you to be patient, and I'm asking you to be creative, because we're going to find a way to bring everyone on this issue across the finish line. With that said, thank you all. At 7 o'clock when we start, we're going to have a busy agenda today, but we're going to have a meaningful discussion, and it would not have happened if the county executive had not pushed this down, but he did, and now it's time for us to have that conversation. It's going to be a tough one. My brother used to chase me down the street with butcher knives. I swear to God, used to chase me down the street with butcher knives. We fought like hell from time to time, but we came together when it came to family. You're going to see some of us fighting internally as family members, but we're going to come together when it comes to the community to make sure you have the tools you need to be successful, because life needs housing. Life needs housing. So let's pull together. This will not pass as is. It will get amended. But thank you all for being here today, sharing in this journey and ensuring and holding us accountable for the next generation so that they have affordable housing in Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Wow. Sitting here listening to where we are in 2023. Tonight there are people literally on the streets of Annapolis. People need housing. I keep saying that people get elected to public office to solve problems. And the good news is that every 4 years there's a referendum, and the referendum is always on the incumbent. Did he or she do the kind of job that gets them to deserve to be reelected? I'm so happy to be able to introduce the next speaker, who was a woman that got reelected, ran against a former mayor of Annapolis, and people voted for her because she was able to get things done. Please welcome to the podium the Honorable Lisa Rodman.
So it's bad enough that Pete had to go after Delegate Henson, but now I have to go after Speaker Smith, or excuse me, Council Chair. So I just gave him a promotion. We'll take it. Before I forget, it is important that you know, because this bill is not going to get a final vote tonight, we're going to need you to come back. We're going to need you to come back in 2 weeks, because we can't let stuff be happening with no one watching. So you need to come back in 2 weeks, and you're probably going to need to come back 2 weeks after that. So set aside your Monday nights for November 20th, right before Thanksgiving, and then first Monday in December, and maybe the second Monday or the third Monday in December. This has got to be, we can't, this isn't a one and done. So just mark your calendars as soon as you get them and talk to each other and say, hey, you're going to be my ride, right? Or I'll give you a ride and we'll all go together. So I don't even know where to start. When I first moved to Annapolis, it was already, you know, my husband's, you know, separating from the military. I had just got employed by Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and we had a hard time finding an affordable place for us to live, and that was 2010. And we finally were lucky enough to buy our own house in 2013, and I think that's only because the markets were so low. That was, you know, after the recession was still recovering. But it's unbelievable. We could not afford our own house now. And I think that is true for lots and lots of folks. And then there's lots of folks that can't afford any house and haven't been able to for the last 20 years. And I'm grateful that Senator Pam Beidel brought that legislation. It didn't get passed in 2004, but the next best time for that legislation to get passed is right now. There are some things you cannot leave to the free market economy. The free market economy is leaving people out, is leaving people on the streets. I was at a housing symposium just last week, and we heard from a representative from the Lighthouse Shelter who said she's seeing people come in that had never come to the shelter before needing help because the rents are getting so high. We've got to have places for people to go. We think of lots of things as an essential part of our lives. Like, we've got essentials, right? You got to have food, you got to have water, you got to have a roof over your head. And it's got to be near where your family is, where your job is, where your community is. When I taught in Anne Arundel County Public Schools, I had colleagues that would commute from Pennsylvania daily. I had colleagues that would commute from Delaware daily because they were able to find more affordable places to live. So it's rare when we get the opportunity to do something that's so straightforward and so simple. We're not doing anything novel with this bill tonight. I wish I could say we were. But the good news is we have examples of lots of places where it's already been done, which makes it easy it should make it easy for us. Montgomery County has had a program like the one this bill creates for almost 40 years. And it works. And it's not perfect, but it works. And it's provided a lot of needed housing in Montgomery County. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can do what we know already works. So I'm looking forward to my colleagues coming together tonight to pass a bill that we already know works. And I'm so grateful that all of you came here tonight, because I really believe if folks are not responding to this, I don't know why they're in this job. Your elected officials should be seeing this. So thank you for being here. Keep the pressure. Make sure you come back on the 20th of November. See you then.
I'm thinking that we should just pause for one moment. With all the things that's going on in the world today, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today, I'm thinking with those persons who find themselves subject to war. If we can just take a moment of silence and think of the children around the world who find themselves homeless this evening. Just a moment of silence. So oftentimes that in order to be able to put a face on a problem, you need people who are affected by that problem just to be speaking. And earlier today we were talking about how housing is needed firefighters, police officers, domestic workers, just ordinary people who want to have a decent place in which to live. Our next speaker is Brian Holstander, who's an Anne Arundel County firefighter and a paramedic, who will bring some words to this particular issue. Brian?
Oh, thank you. I'm Brian Holtzlander, and it has been my privilege to serve the citizens of Anne Arundel County for over 19 years. And while I'm speaking, today as a firefighter, I think the essence of a firefighter, the foundation of a firefighter, is that we are working people, and I think that's something that we all share. Work is the element that knits us all together, and so I'm proud to be here and hopefully speak for all of us in favor of the Essential Worker Housing Access Act. After responding to emergency after emergency across the county, we know the value of a strong community when tragedy strikes. And nothing is more essential to a strong and resilient community than the working people who call it home. However, in recent years, working people like firefighters have been priced out of home ownership in Anne Arundel County. Housing has skyrocketed, and developers give little consideration to affordable options. In fact, only a quarter of our firefighters and paramedics currently live in Anne Arundel County. In times when we are needed most, this makes filling the fire trucks and ambulances challenging. Our firefighters want to live in the communities that we serve. We want to be next door when our neighbors need us, not a county or a state away. Our neighborhoods are good for our firefighters, and we know that our firefighters can be good for our neighborhoods. The Essential Worker Housing Act is a vital step towards attainable home ownership, bringing people together and a stronger community, and that makes us all safer. We hope you'll join us in supporting the Essential Worker Housing Act. Thank you.
Tony, I wanted to particularly acknowledge you. Tony Pratt Strong is one of those people in the community that works with the people we talk about all the time. Tony, thank you for your leadership. I've got some notes here, so excuse me as I go through this. What a turnout. It's a chilly evening. We'd like to thank College Creek Church at 245 Clay Street for their hospitality. They have coffee and warming space available for those who need it. I just want to take this moment to highlight a couple things. Were you pointing that direction? The hospitality is where? Over that way. I just want to just take a moment to kind of go off script for just a second. Please look around you. Take a moment and look at the people that's sitting next to you, standing next to you. For those who are in the front, turn around and look behind you. Just turn around and look behind you. You will find that there's something in common with the folks that's here. Just look at the folks that's here. Tall folks and short folks, skinny folks and folks who are not so skinny. All kinds of people that make up Anne Arundel County. We are an incredible community. And the one thing we have learned over the years, we work best when we work together. Housing is not, I repeat, it's not a partisan issue. This is the most nonpartisan issue you can have. Because regardless of what your party affiliation is, or whether you're affiliated at all. People need housing. Housing is a human right. This is something that every single human being needs. And one of the things I'm hoping as we move forward, Pete Smith had talked about this process. Being a former legislator, I understand the process. But I also know that what Lisa said was so important. People need to stay involved. Things don't just happen by accident or coincidence or happenstance. They happen because we collectively keep our eyes on the prize. So I want us all to appreciate where we are at this particular moment. I also want to take this opportunity to bring Chauncey Hall forward. He's the program director for ACDS. Brother Chauncey.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Wow, that's just unfair. I'm the last one and got to follow those great speakers. Again, I'm Chauncey Hall, the program director for Arundel Community Development Services. We're at a county agency on behalf of the county. We administer all the community development programs. I've been at this for 20 years, and it's the first time in a long time I've seen so many people that we try to educate not able to get a house. This is very alarming. This bill, it asks developers to set aside homes for essential workers they can afford, and this is a lifeline for our homeownership counseling clients. My clients are essential workers that include teachers, police officers, firefighters like Brian, nurses, service industry workers, construction workers. They are the backbone of our society, and their work is to help us for our well-being and our safety. However, they are struggling to stay in their own community, as Brian mentioned. Our county housing is a real puzzle. Everyone wants affordable housing, but it seems like it's an impossible dream. The National Association for Realtors said the biggest challenge for someone buying a house are three major things: lack of inventory, the high interest rates, and crazy prices. So Arundel Community Development, what we do, we see about 300 new clients each year, and only a handful of them will buy houses. That's very scary. That's very hard for us to tell people every time when we're doing it. The biggest roadblock is affordability. The median home price is close to $500,000 a year. Most of my clients cannot afford this. This bill changes that. This is a game changer. As I stated earlier, I've been at this for 20 years, and people to help people understand how to buy a house. So, in closing, we know that we can't solve this problem with just one tool. However, this bill helps us to add one more tool in the toolbox to help us. So in closing, Bill 7823 will help us become a better place for all. Thank you so much, and thank you for your support.
Is Allison Pickard still with us in the audience? Is Allison still with us? Yes? I beg your pardon? Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Would all elected officials in the audience please come toward the stage for a moment? All elected officials, please come forward. All elected officials, please come forward. The meeting, I'm told, the county council meeting is going to start at 7:00 p.m. If you have not signed up, you can still sign up for tonight's hearing. Please let your voice be heard. One of the things that we know for a fact, that your voices can and does make a difference. Nobody knows the problem of housing better than those who are impacted by it. Somewhere tonight, in this great country we call America, it is just hard to imagine that there are people who are literally homeless. I don't know if any of you have children and grandchildren as I do, but I found my granddaughter, who's now 19 years old, she decided she was going to go out and get her own apartment. And then she went and started looking at what it costs to rent an apartment in Annapolis. Wow. She came back to me and said, Granddad, I don't think I'm ready to leave yet. Having the ability to be able to leave to our children and our grandchildren have them inherit a better world than we have. And there's no way better than doing that than to ensuring that all people have a right to safe, decent, and affordable housing. For those who come to the caucus's meeting every month, we're always in our meetings the same way. For those of you who have never been to a caucus meeting, you're about to experience something that you may have never had in your life. I said earlier that whenever we work together collectively, we make America better. And Martin Luther King Jr. made this excellent point. He said, whenever Americans join hands, we make America better. Women got the right to vote because people of goodwill join hands. We make America better when we come together as a community. And because I want to make sure that we understand that this issue is not about any one individual, it's about all of us. There's a thing I often tell people to do, and some of you will find this different. Never had this experience, but look at your neighbor. Look directly in your neighbor's eye. The eyes are the window to one's soul. When you look at somebody in the eye, you see their very soul. Dr. King told us, Dr. Fairley, that to make America better, we've got to learn how to love one another. So as you look at your neighbor directly in the eye, tell your neighbor, male or female, that you're looking at in the eye, I love you. Now, for those of you who understand what love is, I often joke that when I was 14, a young girl told me she loved me. The next day, she was with somebody else. So I really understand what love is. Love is that thing that when somebody says, I love you, if you don't get that tingling feeling, if that moment don't strike you, you ain't felt love. So please look at your neighbor one more time, directly in his or her eyes, and just simply say, I love you. You got to look at him, brother. You got to look at him. I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you. I love you.
So what I say as we move to this conclusion, whatever you do, this thing is about love. It's not about a neighbor. It's not about a moment. It's about all of us understanding that when America works for everybody, we all do better. When we win this battle, it's a battle where when we get the housing that's passed, when housing passes, workers win. When workers win, families win. When families win, women win. When women win, children win. When children win, we all win. We've got to come together collectively. Those of you going to testify at the Arundel Center, please make sure your voices are heard. And I end on this note. I believe in democracy. I believe that a democracy means something. It gives the voters, it gives the citizens, it gives people an opportunity to vote, to be able to say whether when you're in this elective office, an office that you chose to run in, that you make life better for your neighbor, that you make life better for your constituent, that you make life better for the families that you chose to represent. And I must tell you, we cannot afford in 2023 to have happen what happened in 2004. This bill is too important not to pass. Now, I know it's not a panacea. Those who say the bill does not go far enough, I got that. But we have to begin somewhere. So I'm hoping that you will join me in encouraging our elected officials to put people before profit, to put people and their needs before an industry that often focuses on its own particular profit. On that note, I thank each of you. Please go over to the Arundel Center and join us tonight as we make America and Arundel County a better place for all. God bless.